Welcome back, everybody. One more match to wrap up week 1 of the LCQ. And that, of course, means we are that much closer to the official 2022 playoffs. This little chills down my spine saying those words. I got Visions with me, of course, and we've got two teams hailing out of the Southeast region ready to square up for battle in round 2 of their LCQ group. Clemson Esports out of the 2nd tier, Alabama Huntsville out of the 3rd. Austin, this would be a really interesting matchup, I think, just largely due to the fact that both these two teams statistically are actually be very close together to one another.
That's kind of been the big factor with, I feel like, the majority of our matches on the night here through the LCQ is that a lot of them have been, very close. That's kind of what you get with these matchups as well. So I'm very excited to see, how this head-to-head is going to end up playing out here for us between both of these squads. Very competitive when it comes down to, some of the respawns here for us. So we'll see what ends up happening. I think a similar story where it could be, the map 3 maybe depends on a lot on who ends up taking the series. But nonetheless, time to jump into that head-to-head and just take a look at all of the overall records that come into play here.
Yeah, overall records, obviously pretty narrow, but, again, strength of schedule provides a much more difficult look at the pathway for Clemson, kind of finishing in the middle of the Tier 2 of the Southeastern region, where Alabama Huntsville finished on the just upper side, like the upper middle class, we'll call it, of Tier 3, 5-3 through Stage 2 for Huntsville. And a lot of it looks like it was largely done in Map 3. Map 3 wins key for them, 7-5 in the control. You figure that a lot of that was actually established throughout that second stage. A little bit cluttery, though, I would say, from both sides on any of the other maps, really. I mean, 12-12 in the hard point to the 12-14. You can read them. Why am I reading out the numbers, so you can read them? So it's pretty tight affair when it comes to the overall modes, which I think provides an opportunity here for Alabama Huntsville to at least stay competitive with Clemson.
Yeah, I definitely think they can keep this one very competitive for the most part here, but we'll take a look at our rosters coming into play overall. We got some fun ones here. I'm actually really excited to cast over a couple of these players, Alan, because we got some fun names to kind of throw in there overall. But, coming into it, we definitely were framing up, hey, listen, who's going to be some of the big players that also come up big, just like we saw in the last series, right? How that can really dictate how you're obviously going to be able to win or lose here. So we'll see how that one also kind of comes in here for us as well through this best of 5.
So for Clemson, looking at them first and foremost as the team out of the Tier 2, of course, they are the home team. We're dealing with BMO, Matty P, Classy, and TK. Important to note that TK's name in game will be some Oriental characters, but we'll still be calling him as TK. I think the thing about this Clemson team, and I'd mentioned this before we kind of went to break, the Southeastern region was very competitive. You look at who was in the Tier 2, you're looking at teams like Georgia Southern, West Virginia, who put up a really good fight in the first stage, LVC, who was a playoff team last year, Old Dominion, who was a playoff team last year, Alabama, who was a playoff team last year, and the list goes on. Johnson C. Smith was also, I believe, a playoff team last year. So you've got like a lot of veteran squads littering this second tier, and to go 5-4 in the stage, that actually is pretty darn good if you're Clemson.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's too bad whatsoever. I mean, it's never easy to battle back from teams that have that amount of history, that amount of experience as well, right, throughout college COD. So it can never be easy to come into those divisions and try to perform well. But overall, I feel like, as you said, and as you mentioned, like Clemson has done a decent job here. It's just trying to make sure that you're able to consistently do that here across the board going in towards every single matchup. Of course, now jumping into this one. But we take a look at the other side for Alabama Huntsville, see exactly what we have to work with coming into this one. Some real fun ones, I feel like, across the board, as we were kind of already alluding to. But we got J-Man, Real, Pinecone, and Yoingy Zoingy. I'm definitely going to mess that one up at some point in time as we get into it. But nonetheless, I like it. It's fun, and I'm hoping he gives us some multi-kills out. I'm hoping he gives us something to get excited about.
Oh, the comedy that could be done off of that name alone. You better watch out, Yoingy Zoingy.
I'm ready for it.
I'm so ready for it. But honestly speaking here, for Alabama Huntsville, kind of the same thing that I was talking about with Clemson. That Tier 3, it was still very competitive from like top to bottom. I mean, you had West Virginia, Potomac State, who unfortunately just barely missed out in the second tier, and they did kind of run through the third. But UTK, like what? UTK in the third tier? And the thing is, but like they were competitive not only throughout all of last year against really good Southeastern teams. The same could be said in some of their opening stage matchups this year, just due to the fact that that particular division of the opening stage in the Southeastern region was probably the most competitive opening stage that we've seen. So they only went 6-2 overall in this Tier 3. So I do think that across both of these two divisions, the line between them is very, very slim. So for Alabama Huntsville, You have to hope that the 4-man squad is ready to go here, because I just don't think in any instance this Southeastern region can rely on one player to carry you into playoffs. So have to come through, and we'll see where exactly the map set will take us here to kind of consider those points. Again, the big thing here for Alabama Huntsville is the map 3. That's going to be a Tuscan control for them. Yeah. Whereas we had mentioned statistically, all the other modes were very terribly close based on the results that we've seen so far across the first 2 stages.
Yeah, very close. We hit on it already. The hard point, 12 and 12 up against 12 and 14. Like that is, nothing to really kind of look at and say, okay, this team has a clear-cut advantage. So I do expect this one to be, fairly close, especially through the respawn for the most part. And then, obviously kicking us off will be a Berlin. So that'll give us kind of a good look at how both teams are kind of performing from a rotational standpoint. I always feel like Berlin is like the one map that we have out of all of the hard points that gives you a really good look at just like the core and the structure of the team and how they're performing, how they're moving together, because it's probably the most punishing map for not rotating on time, for not finding some of those really early and successful breaks. So it's time to get into it. Time to see how it's going to come together, Alan. Last match of the night, seeing who can stay alive in the LCQ and who will end their season. A lot of pressure, but we know it's going to be a great matchup. It all kicks off here on the Berlin.
Tigers and Chargers. Let's find out. Clemson's actually really close to where I'm at. About an hour and a half drive.
Are they?
Yep. In case you're wondering. I know you weren't, but
no.
Just thought it was kind of cool.
I love the facts, Alan.
You
always hit me with them,
I try to keep you on your toes. I would love to actually see you like in a pair of ballet shoes on your toes.
I don't think you would. I don't think anyone would like to see that.
We'll see. Opening first blood, though, for UAH as they make their way further break attempt. And Pinecone around the back is in a really good spot. Yeah, he finds a second. His teammates helping out for the third. And could you draw up a more clinical break attempt than that for the Chargers?
I don't think you could. I mean, coming in from what is not always the easiest to break off from the side here, just not really a lot of control down low through the pillars, and because of it, it kind of allows them to get inside and maintain the control. A single hit comes through there for Matty P. His teammates are now following up, but they're a couple seconds behind, so really allows the defense to set up inside the hard point quite comfortably. But it will be a nade from from TK that's able to at least clear that one out. So scrap sign for Clemson was looking good for a second, but J-Man hits it one more time, and that means that it's going to be a 50-50 race for spawns.
I said this in the early stages of the season, but I haven't said it since, and I feel like I need to. I feel like just the general knowledge around our CCL teams this year has been so much better than any year in the past. That was a very clinical break, and then an even better play for finesse time for UAH. The problem is, because you were committing to finessing the scrap time, you were shorthanded on rotation, and Clemson's going to punish for the first 20 seconds of time here at second.
We'll be able to grab a slight lead. Lots of time to play for, so you want to break now if you're Alabama. But Matty P, he's just been really holding this entire lane through the docks. 3 in a row for him, waiting for that next challenge. Pinecone's going to try to take some shots there from afar. Won't be able to find Demo in full. Who's already threatening an early rotation here for the side of Clemson, but it's not going to happen. And I mean, this is a really slow approach from Alabama. They're going to make a move, but it's almost a little too slow, you feel like, because this is going to slow them down now on this rotation. They do luckily get the squad spawns, but they still need to win the gunfight.
Yeah, you need somebody else besides Pinecone to go in and finesse this scrap time, because it really was a dictated play to focus heavily on rotation, and it gave away almost a full 60 for free to Clemson. BMO does well to get a second to trade out his life. Not going to mean too much in the end, but it does stall Alabama Huntsville from setting up a zone around this hard point. So they have to fight from essentially in their spawn. Pinecone for the first, and an unfortunate team nade will pretty much stop any hope of Clemson breaking on their first attempt.
I like Matty slowing down here from the top. Doesn't need to push. Just needs to wait for his teammates to come off spawn so that they can coordinate this next hit with nades and stuns. Everyone playing really tight inside the hard point here. So if you get some good nades and stuns in, yeah, you could break this. TK finds that first one. Zoingy finds 2 in the back, and that is really going to be 3 actually off screen. So every single player lines up here for him, and that means that we basically get a full 60 right back for Alabama Huntsville as they have a lockdown hill here at P3.
Very good. Fighting from inside the spawn, as mentioned, that was very clean. Granted, you got a little bit of help off of a team nade or two, but you really did lock down and isolate that position through really the only hit coming over in towards fire. You were really responsibly holding it. So really good awareness from Alabama Huntsville. Of course, with that full scrap being locked in, they will be late on rotation to train yard. But with this player on the back, they actually block spawns already. TK spawned all the way over towards P1. BMO spawning exactly where he had previously spawned up as well. So an opportunity to turn this into into a 50-50 battle in Alabama Huntsville. They've already neutralized time here for Clemson with an opportunity to take control.
And Clemson needs to wait for Maddie to really get some work done here from the back. He needs to find kills. We'll see if he can. Nice little route from TK. Comes around for the side and is able to clean up too. And then Maddie gets involved in the play. And that allows their sub-player Classy to move back on the hard point. Try to fight inside of it. And he'll win that battle with the help of Maddie again. So this has been very nicely done from Clemson Esports here. Good recovery and already threatening an early rotation as TK finds 2 at P5.
Yeah, TK looking really good here through the middle of the map. Scrap time is pretty much going to be confirmed off of that, no problem. And look at the route being hit by BMO. The next hard point opening up is, of course, the main focus. But if you have the opportunity to get to the left side of the map, it puts you in a very favorable position to turn 5 into 1. And BMO, he reveals his position, finds a kill, and that will confirm spawns. So they've got what they want when it comes to the position that they're spawning at, but you will allow Alabama Huntsville a chance to get some pretty significant time here in the opening portions of one of our most contested hard points here in the 5th.
Pinecone trying to stay alive, won't be able to do so. Classy again breaks initially right off spawn. Lots of time to play for it, and a lot more work needs to be done around the hard point here as J-Man's trying to line up Maddie P. Tags him up, but can't fully finish off the kill. Takes a little peek through the crack in the wall, and that will get the job done. 20 seconds now left. Clemson Esports still with the lead, and J-Man holding the T2 position up top. Has been just absolutely lethal, and we'll look for the pistol. How about that? Takes out Classy for 3 in a row, and that should solidify the scrap time, as it will be Clemson Esports trying to battle out here for the new spawn to P1.
Look, Austin, it's not just the fact that they confirmed the scrap time. I was about to say that you were able to also commit 3 players to try to contest this opening hard point once again as we reset the rotation pretty darn quickly. But Clemson very good. Locking down the front, TK with the double. And Pinecone is left to essentially just wait and play for his life. And as actually they lose Yoingi, Pinecone now actually kind of has to be forced into making a play because a lot of time is going to go over for free. Real in the back, an opportunity to hit a pinch. Good timing here, cuts off 1. And as his teammates isolate from the front, that'll be a very convincing break. And it is almost a copy-paste of what they had done off the break in the opening of this hard point. Nice little pinch play leading to a wrap, leading to isolation from the front. This is absolute perfection from Alabama Huntsville.
And look at just the proactiveness coming out here from Pinecone. He's already set up inside of Mail, and you look at J-Man, he's also cutting off around P5. So you're basically funneled now into this dock rotation, as you can see there through the northern part of the minimap, to try to get to the back, to try to get inside of Mail, and you got away with the majority of the time there on P1. So this is looking good for them, but they still need to win the battles. We'll see if that will go their way. So far, so good. They'll be able to make an easy rotation over. Clemson Esports now needs to do some recovery quite quickly as they have to win out on this mail room.
Yeah. And opening gunfights. Convincing for Clemson. Whoa. Classy turns that into a triple. That was a 2v4 essentially on the point. And Classy winning 3 will give Clemson a chance to really get a good lockdown of this hard point. But the problem is they're not actually able to put a proximity around the outside of it. And Alabama Huntsville turned that into an opportunity to once again contests. Desperate in nature, Clemson is able to get back in from the high ground and control what will be the majority of this hard point. So this will be our first significant lead that we'll have, largely in this entirety of the map. And look at Alabama Huntsville. They are so pinned up over towards P3. They're really fortunate, if I'm being honest, to still spawn there with the second hill still being active.
Yeah, Alabama Huntsville need to come away with, another big hill to make sure this one does not get out of hand. Clemson Esports, they find a successful break. They could just run away with the Berlin hardpoint, but it looks like it's going to come by way of fire. Nades being thrown out, nothing connecting with the members inside of the hardpoint so far. But here comes the flood right to the front again. It's almost too easy for Alabama. They'll put on the pressure, but holding his life is going to be Matty P. It opens up for an opportunity here from the side spawn. He's still contesting. He's still looking good. And Clemson Esports, they're holding on here to the front.
Oh, dangerous prospects here for Alabama Huntsville. The gunfight's still going 50-50. Matty's still alive in the corner. Turns that into an opportunity to fight through the windows. That's 4 in a row for him. Eventually traded, but his job is done. Spawns will even flip here in the last 25 seconds to allow Clemson a chance to really win 2 hard points back-to-back in a convincing fashion. The Chargers have been competitive throughout the entirety of this map, but put a pin in that moment right there, because that may be the deciding factor of this entire map, as Clemson already looks to rotate over to 4 to really keep the momentum swinging.
It's looking like it might be right there. Matty still keeping up the aggression. Finds another one here through the rotation. Tough gun battle through the back of the train, but He's going. He does get shrugged off of the train heady for now. DK now found another opening through the side of the hard point, finds one inside. Easy peasy for him, but needs to play his life as he waits for the next challenge. And J-Man from afar will be able to bring it to him. So a nice clearance comes through for Alabama Huntsville. They'll be able to get themselves a good 20 seconds now. Let's see if they can try to defend off this next push and get themselves back in the game.
Will they read this long play coming around the back? Well, surely they will, because Pinecone and J-Man are not going to spawn in. Oh, boy. It all rests with Yonky Zonky. Not going to happen. This is a key 25 seconds for Alabama Huntsville as well. You kind of have to commit to playing into this. But it's a little bit too slow to really finesse this scrap time. So, Clemson, that much closer to 250. And the problems that start to occur here for Alabama Huntsville is you have to put together a good P5 and a perfect P1 to even have a chance to come back in.
That's a lot to do. Emo gets about the majority of the automaton clip there. Ends up Pinecone through the box. Doesn't finish him off, and looks like he might have got his regen off as he's already finding kills now. Might be able to find the second. Emo's done, I don't know, a good 300-400 damage, it feels like, here in the last couple seconds. Just can't find a kill, and he still won't. Pinecone from afar with the sub. Able to gun him down. This is good news right now, at least for Alabama Huntsville. They do have some decent setups. They have Real here through the staircase that can watch over the player inside of the hard point. Just needs to find the kills. Does come up with one at the very least, but now 20 seconds away is Clemson Esports. They could really end it here if they're able to get any presence around P5.
And the thing about this for Clemson, it's almost a too reserved of a setup here where they're almost trying to default win off of P1. They're still fighting for spawns on the left side of the map, and it could potentially come back to bite him in the butt because the Chargers are spawning in. But TK cleans up mid-map. 3 kills come around the statue, leaving Real by himself. He has to contest with these players for Clemson that are from the front. Yoingy Zongy hitting a route through train station, not going to turn into much, and here come the Chargers. Desperately diving into the hard point. Even trades thus far. The 2v2 for the zone. Bima with the pistol gets one done. 1v1 potentially for the game, but J-Man turns it aside, and Alabama Huntsville extend their life in this hard point a little while longer.
Yes, they will, and they're able to also push out a little bit here through the front of it. So Clemson Esports have a really important decision. Do they go for this hit? 30 seconds left, plenty of time to be able to maybe even a second hit happen, or do you just simply rotate? It looks like they're going to go for the latter. Majority of the players are going to start to move over across the map, get themselves set up. They're happy to give that time over, but this does give Alabama Huntsville a chance and a lot of breathing room. Look at how far pushed forward they are here. So much clearance already done around Mail. It's all up to BMO to try to hold this entire lane.
Bro, Clemson, they were trying to finesse to win the game off of ult. They're not going to be able to. And Alabama Huntsville's making the right play. Give this up, rotate, and it's going to be a 2v2 on the hill for potentially the win, and oh, nobody steps on it! The one thing you couldn't do if you're Alabama is give up the hill. Just keep someone in a corner to make sure you contest, but they're so worried about getting the kills on the outside of the hard point that they forgot about the objective, and Clemson literally walks in, takes the final 2 seconds, and puts a very weird anticlimactic finish to what was a really good hard point.
Yeah, a very good hard point. I mean, you can see really from both sides of it. Like the first time around, you look at Alabama on their hold at P3, like completely flawless, minimal mistakes, hold it the entire time. They don't lose spawns. The tight setup really works out for them. Second time around, you could really see the difference maker was Maddie when he was able to contest what was like, 20, like almost 30 seconds it felt like at one point in time. And those were kind of those driving factors that really started to build up that lead, because once you aren't able to hold on to, those money hills and get a huge portion of that time back in your favor to kind of tie things up, you're all of a sudden in a deficit, and you have to play flawless. You have to play perfect from there on out. So very clean across the board, and another big shout out to Matty P, because he was really that big X factor that started to turn that game around.
I said in the middle of it, you put a pin in that moment between 2 and 3, because that rotation was everything. I mean, they got, what, a 60-point gap built off of that rotation alone, the first significant lead that we had, and wouldn't you know it, the game was a little bit under 50-point difference. So, I mean, very, very key for Clemson to come away with this game, because I really do feel like Alabama Huntsville put up exactly the kind of fight you needed to see to contest versus a Tier 2 team. I know it feels weird because, like, if you're really kind of criticizing the points we've made, like, Shift, how are you going to go and say a 43-point game was more tight than the 18-point game we had last series? It's just the play styles matched up much more fluidly between these two teams in this instance, I thought, compared to what we had in that first series. So, yeah, a really good game from both teams, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, very fun hardpoint. Back and forth, a couple of big moments from both players, from either side. You had the hot start as well from Alabama that, could have snowballed into a lot more if they were able to do it. But I think you just got shining moments from Clemson Esports there multiple times, like TK winning that double as well, or right behind statue through the middle of the map was huge to make sure that Alabama doesn't come away with, the initial setup on P1, or else maybe we have a totally different game altogether. So very nicely done. The clutch up was there. We knew the respawns were definitely going to be fun between both of these squads with the records that they have. But as we transition back over to the overall map set that we have here, coming up next will be the Search and Destroy, and it's going to be a bocage. So, things could get a little dicey, could get very interesting very fast here for us. And I think the interesting, news about both these squads, Alan, is that neither are really strong in Search and Destroy. Not necessarily horrible either, but it does open up, I feel like, for some potential strategies that could come in where you could be a little looser, especially on a map like Bocage, where you could take a lot of risk and get a lot of reward.
And I think if I'm being candid, I would say both teams had the potential to kind of live up to that, but I'm curious to see who's going to take the first step. Because I say this pretty regularly, and I'm sure kind of a de facto result is that it feels like a pretty canned response, but I have to say, like, there is probably no better Search and Destroy to dictate pace and tempo of how the map is going to be played than Bocage. Like, I really do believe that if you're able to set up aggression and really find value playing from the front side of grannies on either side of the bomb, or potentially playing aggressively up through river defensively, there's an opportunity to really cause problems from the opposite side. Whereas there's also the opportunity to just say, you can play aggressive if you want to. We want this game to be slow, and we'll let our ARs just decimate you on these little cheeky plays you're trying to set up. So I'll be curious to see which of those play styles will reign supreme here in the early stages of this search.
Well, I'm excited for it. Very close affair in the map number 1 if you're just tuning in. Now we'll see if the Chargers can try to keep this series a little interesting. Both have a very fun record when it comes down to the controls, so it could be a great setup for a long series, or could be the opportunity for Clemson Esports to really just go ahead, pull up 2-0 here in the best of 5. Bring a lot of that aggression that we just saw. Well, it's time to find out. Attacking first will be Alabama Huntsville, as we'll see what their priority will be, how aggressive they're going to be. Opening nades all going out here looking for first bloods, and it's going to be Classy that finds J-Man.
Yeah, these are both teams looking to get aggressive, and Clemson is winning every gunfight. Alabama Huntsville did not expect this. They were setting up preset nades over towards gates. They did not expect a double SMG hit out of grannies into barn like that. Wow. Okay, so you want to talk about immediately what was talked about just a minute ago. Who's going to set the tempo, and what is it going to be? Speed, what am I trying to say? Dial-wise, 0 to 10. What am I talking about? It's Clemson who comes out and sets the notch to 10 immediately. That's what I was trying to get to.
All right. We got there.
We got there.
They're putting the pedals to the metal.
It was a car on 3 wheels, but we got there.
They have cars like that now, don't they? I know they have bikes like that. Have you seen those? You seen the bikes that have like 3 wheels?
Yeah, they're like I want to ride a motorcycle, but I don't want to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, but I don't want to balance. Is that what it is? I just don't want to deal with balancing, so I'm just gonna get a 3rd wheel.
Exactly what it is.
Are you a biker at that point?
No, you're not. I don't think you can be classified as one. No.
All right, Alan, shut it down. All right, Alabama Huntsville looking pretty solid here on defense. 2 kills here already over onto Matty P and TK. Classy and BMO have to try to make something happen, and they're both going to be on opposite sides of the map, but maybe Classy tries to get over to his teammate. Luckily, you do have an AR to work with here from BMO, so if he can maybe find one and get out and exit safely, it could be your opportunity. And how about that? There it is, exactly. Finds one, exits safely, and this could draw defenders over to B potentially too.
That, or Alabama Huntsville needs to make the decision to say, let them plan at B, we'll play with our numbers for a retake, and it looks like they're actually going to default to doing that. Maybe. Maybe not. Oh boy. I wish they would have done that. I wish they would have committed to doing that. Because now they're going to quickly realize as soon as J-Man throws a shoulder towards B that they've made the wrong call. And there's nobody here at A. J-Man's moving quickly. He's got both nades to play with. He could still stun check this. He doesn't see the backside of Classy. This bomb's going to get planted, and the opportunity of a 2v3 is very much so alive.
Oh, J-Man's going to chase, but he's punished for the chase. So at 2v2 now, all of a sudden, Pinecone, Zoingy need to make a play. The first one is there, so now it's all up to Classy. A 1v2, bomb is down. He has the clutch spot to play with, and he has the sub, and he's able to line up the first one, now down to a 1v1.
And he's going to reset this angle, but Zongi wants to take the battle, but it's a 2v4 win for Clemson. The SMG in close quarters just a bit too strong. And, Alabama Huntsville. You can't let it happen. For a moment there, when you were asking the question about, like, oh, you got to stretch over towards B, and with them just kind of sitting statuesque around A, I was like, well, you could try to just play for retake. But they decide to get a little unnerved by the lack of information towards B, and it turns it into a favorable situation for the two remaining Tigers. Oh, it's so unfortunate for the Chargers.
Very unfortunate, but I just really have to kind of, respect the patient play coming through here for Clemson. This one's not patient, is it? Open challenges, good for Classy. Pinecone first blooded. Second blood is in, and Alabama Huntsville slowly crumbling as they're now going to have to work back from a 2v4, just like their opposition did here in the previous round. And we'll have to see if it's up to kind of Zoingy. I feel like he probably has the AR with that position backed in to kind of open up here with the first kill.
He's got to get active, though. Look how worried they've been from the get-go. You saw it kind of on our POV. I forget who it was. I think it may have been Pinecone. It was just both players holding hay bales inside of barns, watching opposite doorways, expecting Clemson to run at them, and that was not the case. Even in this moment, Zongi was so worried about the flank through river that there's now zero real estate to work with. They have been completely contained in towards barn and mid-map. Timing, just barely couldn't see the barrel. Still gets gifted the kill, though. One more around the corner. J-Man doesn't check his right, thinking that the only player forward was going to be TK. Not the case at all. And Clemson now a 3v1 with time to play with.
Yeah, getting this kill to Classy would also be perfect. Get him that much closer to a glide, and I think there was multiple shots there, so not sure if he finishes off that kill or not. But, I mean, Clemson just really showing us that they're not afraid to get aggressive. They'll open up with these, initial challenges at the start of the round, and they find these first and second bloods. They win these individual gunfights, and it just gives them all this breathing room where you're just trapped at the back of the map here on defense, and you're unwilling to look for a risky player when you have to in order to open up and create some space for some kind of a push here on the attack. But doesn't happen. Clemson Esports now pull ahead 3-0, and Classy doesn't grab that last kill, but he's still nonetheless on that force spree working towards a glide.
Oh, look at this hit. Set nades over towards A. Full flood you have to expect behind that. Oh, and they're going to get information as well. That little knock onto whoever it hit, that nade will allow TK the opportunity to get a plant off and then very freely get away with his life. And even worst case scenario for Alabama Huntsville is they lose a defender mid-map, which means that all of a sudden Granny needs to be retaken as well. So many problems started to kind of amount here for Alabama Huntsville in this 3v4 retake situation.
Yeah, it's going to be very one-dimensional as well. All three players from the same location essentially clearing out space, and they're going to have to clear it out pretty quick. 20 seconds on that clock. Zoingy has spotted one. Good shots, but BMO's able to clear out one before he does. Secondary challenges there. Zoingy finds it. So it's a 2v2, but someone's got to hop on the bomb, and finding Real will basically make this one impossible. Yeah. Looking for the kills, not going to come in. Clemson Esports just pulling ahead, running them over here, 4-0 up.
So, again, let me express why that kill in the middle of the map that was off screen through Granny's was so important. You don't have that position to work with defensively. So even though Zongi does a great job clearing the outside of the map around A, there is no SMG left to clear out the interior. So it's just too many deficits there. If Alabama Huntsville even just pushed back that player, the retake is very doable. But once you give away Granny's, it's just so difficult because you've got post-plant clutch positions deep towards barn, top side towards mannequin window. It's just too many issues. And oh boy, talk about issues. BMO's going to get inserted forward. Double stuns to allow him to get here. Finesses?
No.
Trying to get the double, but could not, unfortunately, finish on the final shot needed to take down Pinecone. So we go 3v3.
And look at how Alabama's playing now. They're like, is there someone else with them? Is someone else hitting this? And, well, they're going to find out that it's going to be a hard yes. Look at TK. He's trying to bob and weave around nades and stuns, so they're going to three-man push him out. If he can come up with one, that'd be great. Does he get a second? Yes, he does. Wow. TK with the moves! Oh, my goodness! Puts them on skates, bobs and weaves, finds the 3K, and that's good to put Clemson up 5-0.
That is unbelievable for Clemson. It's even the set play to at least double, if not maybe even triple stun mid-map, to allow BMO to make that hit in the first place is really cool. But then the delayed pinch play for TK, he's actually in a spot, by the way, to go and find trades if he wants to off of that set play from BMO. But after how that kill had come through and how the trade had happened, he says, I'll just wait here. We've got B control completely. wait for players to rotate towards me, and oh boy, now TK is even going to be rewarded with the read here on this aggressive defensive posture here for Alabama Huntsville. And that immediately turns into a hit towards Granny's, but Real is good for the opener. Gets some damage into BMO, but cannot finish off. And that turns us to another 3v3, but the A side has been won by Clemson. It just comes down to will they realize that.
Bomb starting to go down around A. BMO's got good position inside of Granny's. And through the back, Matty P finds Pinecone. J-Man gets one back. 2v2. J-Man needs to work himself out of this position, and Classy doesn't want to commit for it. He still is one off of the glide for some late game insurance, just in case this round doesn't go your way. He's going to wrap back and, of course, make sure they have an opportunity at closing this one out. That's 25 seconds now on the clock, and it's Alto Classy yet again in a 1v2.
But he knows where both players are. The shots that came out from his teammate at the very last moment was onto the initial. So as he takes care of Youngie, Zoingy, he gets stuck in the doorway. And that maybe forced the gunfight that he didn't want, and J-Man will secure the trade, getting Alabama Huntsville on the board, but so much still left to be done here if you want to win this search and destroy.
Yeah, sometimes those walls, they're built a little thicker than other ones, I swear. I try to run through those
round
walls
to round,
sometimes, Alan, and I'm just like, I should have sprinted through that wall. And you can see him try, and then he's forced to take the gunfight. But the good news is that you get the glide. He got the first kill, so he does earn himself the glide bomb, and that's going to make things, fairly easy to work for, especially on this attacking round here. I mean, you could maybe even make an argument to try to make something happen through the trench side with your ARs, use that glide, open up some space, and try to get that bomb down. So there's certainly options for Clemson Esports. They could also just kind of go back to running at their opponents. That's something they've been doing quite a bit of, but we'll have to see. Either way, J-Man will try to look for some set nades, see if they can find some first bloods. That could be your opportunity if you're Alabama. Get this first blood and try to get this bomb down. We'll see what can happen as Pinecone gets aggressive down low.
Look how nervous Alabama Huntsville are.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is this setup offensively is actually really good for what Clemson is trying to put together. You do not need to overstep here if you're Pinecone. You can't actually. That's all. It's shoulder. That's fine. No one's playing through back. Do not go to water wheel. Do not make this play. You see the backside of Classy, but the problem is he's got help and probably should be traded here, no problem. And that is indeed the case. That's a little over-aggressive for my taste if you're Alabama Huntsville. You had enough position to work with to get the bomb planted, and they kind of give it away, and now Clemson start to reap the reward, knowing exactly where Huntsville are.
Yeah, one by one, they're starting to fall, and now it's J-Man versus the world. Seeing if he can maybe find the player in the back here, but he can't even slip around the wall. They'll find him. They'll hunt him down, and Clemson Esports will get the job done in 7. 6-1 finish to pull ahead here, 2-0 in the series. I mean, they've just been lights out, especially in the search and destroy.
Here's the reason that I say that you cannot make a play through water wheel if you're Alabama Huntsville in that round. You had one player watching, it was J-Man, who was watching kind of through stables for any potential long flanks coming around the back. He was in a perfect position. If he doesn't see anything, okay, no one's playing through river. There's a lot of confidence that if you don't fall in mid-map, that no one's playing mid-map either. So you should be able to tally if they're not playing through river and they're not playing through mid-map, they have to have a setup around Granny's. And the last thing you want to do is run subs into that setup. Because even if you find the first kill, there are just so many easy positions for the defense to surround you, get the easy trades, and still lock down both bomb sites because your only player towards B is staying reserved playing for flanks. So the setup has to be get the bomb down, force the defense to come to you. That's a miscue from Alabama Huntsville, and they get punished for it. And we take a look back over the stats. It just felt like Clemson from start to finish just had a better look at what they wanted to do for Bacage, and off the get-go, set in the notch to that speed tempo of 10.
Yes.
Alabama Huntsville, the rest of the time offensively, we're so worried about where's Clemson? Are they running at us? They have to be. Like, it just, that mental warfare was just won by the Tigers from round 1.
Constant paranoia on where they were going to be for sure. And the best thing I love about this is Matty P, huge reason why we see Clemson win that first map. This time around, he understands his role where he's responsible for just watching the flank a lot of the times, just holding, the iron sight, making sure that he is holding some kind of a lane so that he can allow BMO and Classy to be enabled. TK as well, we saw him pull this up a couple of times to get very aggressive, look for these kills. So you can really see everyone, I feel like, involved in the play every single time we were in one of those rounds. And it really did pay off as we got to the end of it there, as they closed things out. I mean, as convincingly as you can just about get, 6-1 here. So very good job for them. And now they're 2 up. Very similar story to what we framed up in the last best of 5 here, where, Alan, it could be all done and dusted here for Alabama Huntsville going in towards this control.
Tough scenes, but it has to be done on the control to start. We'll frame it all up when we come back after the halftime break. Don't go too far. More of Clemson and Alabama Huntsville right after this. Welcome back, everybody. 2-0 counts in favor of the Clemson Tigers. Looking pretty darn saucy. The first opening hardpoint, really hotly contested for both two teams. I would say the play style is pretty even, but the same could not be said on the Search and Destroy. Very one-sided affair. Clemson setting the tone from the get-go. No true responses from Alabama. It gets us into a map 3 control on Tuscan, and then if the reverse sweep to be in tow, it'd be the hardpoint Picage and Desert Siege Search to close it out, where Alabama Huntsville would try to extend their postseason run. Otherwise, it's the end of the road.
That's right. And, of course, for them, they want to make this one go as long as possible, and they're going into their best map mode combination. This is their only positive game mode, where you look at the other side of Clemson Esports. They're not, horrible, but they're 4-5. So I think coming in, I had framed this one up as being one of the key pieces of the best of 5, where if you can grab this map number 3, this could be the changing fact in bringing this one back. They had a really close map number 1. A couple things go a little differently, and this is a totally different series. But we need to see all 4 members get involved here, Alan. There can be no one-man show, because we've seen Clemson Esports, both maps, pull out everything here, firing on all cylinders. So you really do have to match that, set some of that tempo, or at least shut their tempo down, make them slow down a little bit here. That could be your factor coming into the control.
Well, I like that. I think the biggest thing is just play style wise. If you can repeat what you had done on the hard point, you'll be in a pretty solid position, I think, to at least be able to negate any takeover moments from Clemson.
Absolutely.
Just generally because of the way that the map forms. And I'm mostly, of course, talking about this from the defensive perspective. But I think similar things could be said and echoed from the offensive side of things as well, where you have to make sure that Clemson doesn't get around the back of your flank, doesn't have these little pinches through mid-map. Get some control to the middle. Set up a bit of a hot spot, I think, if you're Alabama Huntsville, and maybe you can punish that that over-aggressive nature that Clemson tried to establish in the search.
Well, let's find out. Map number 3, 2-0 up for Clemson. Seeing if they can just make this one an easy night. Advance to that next round. We'll see if Alabama Huntsville will make it easy for them, or if they'll put up a bit of a fight. Attacking first will be Clemson Esports. We're going to send Matty P over to A to create some noise, throw out a stun, while the rest of them work to B. And, well, Yoingy's going to find out real quickly, like, hey, it's not coming today, guys. They're all here, and he's unable to win that battle. That means that Clemson could find some early success around B.
Thing is, he did slow it down enough to allow Pinecone to get here, but Pinecone loses a 1v1 through patio. Oh, boy. J-Man forced to rotate through mid. Will continue to keep some pressure onto the high ground as Yoingy re-wraps back over through column, and there is a clean clearance out of Alabama Huntsville. And all the meanwhile, Pinecone gets right back over to A. So defensively, you're actually in a really good spot here if you're the Chargers, including Riel, Riel on the backside, who turns it into a double through fire, looking like Riel. Beautifully well done for Alabama Huntsville.
J-Man there for 2 more, and yeah, very well done. I mean, they're able to slow it down a little bit, make a really nice map rotation over to A as you call, and this is going to force Clemson Esports on the back foot. Have to clear out some space here through mid. Matty P is going to be the man to try to do it. Rest of his teammates will be able to foot all the way to B, but Pinecone, has he just got some excellent timing? Yes, he has. Just needs to come out with the kills. He doesn't check down low in the corner, and that's going to be costly. But his teammates are here. One more player. J-Man, he's going to drop in Clemson Esports. All of a sudden, they can stack the zone.
Oh, and they absolutely have. Oh, no, it's gone from good to terrible in the blink of an eye for Alabama Huntsville, as you also have TK, who's already into rotation onto A. Real doesn't expect him in the corner, but Pinecone picks up the pieces. The problem is the defense is still being picked up off this rotation through Church, and it's going to lead to free progress for Classy on 4 in a row. Oh, man. It just, that's like insert Peter Griffin meme here where he stubs his toe, it's so close to being so good for Alabama Huntsville, and it's all of a sudden just turned into the easiest offense for Clemson you've ever seen.
Yeah, and that'll be it. Wow, man. Definitely stings. And it's so funny because you think of how different does that round go if Pinecone wins that 1v1 on the BMO up top in patio, right? Like all of a sudden the player on the zone, doesn't have the support around him. He has to watch multiple different angles. Maybe he gets off of it, and it's a different look. But, I mean, it's the way the cookie crumbles. It's the way it plays out. Clemson Esports win that 1v1. They stack the zone after a full wipe, and they make sure that it's easy peasy after that to just head over to A and grab the remaining ticks of progress. So Alabama, Huntsville, they're going to have to now do the exact same thing, and they're not looking for any kind of a B play. There are 4 men sending it over to A here right off the bat to see if they can just do a traditional push.
The problem about this is, again, the middle of the map. You have to get participation from Yoinky Zonkin. He gets backed off. Look at the quick response. TK takes over the mid. Oh boy. Alabama Huntsville so focused on the back that they maybe miss out in the play through you. But they get 2 ticks of progress very quickly. Retake on the way, though, as BMO and Matty P fighting for it. Matty for a double. They hit a triple, as he does it all by himself. From a pretty impossible position, mind you, as well, through mid-U. And now, all of a sudden, Alabama Huntsville are a bit stuck in their spawn.
Through mid-U and with an AR, he did that. So, fairly disgusting. And Alabama Huntsville, I think they should still be good for this tick as long as nothing crazy happens right through mid. And Classy does almost line up, too. As TK, one last attempt, try to clear the zone all by himself, and he doesn't get there. Stop and contest it around the zone. So the extra minute is up. Lives are exactly even at 22 apiece, but now it's all about getting to B here for Alabama Huntsville.
And you cannot get to B without controlling some position around the middle of the map. Obviously looking most towards radio and top bunks where BMO is currently defensively watching, but you also have to be worried about the long flank potential out of Classy in number 3, especially as he kind of reveals himself by getting this first kill. Here's the hit. BMO for 1. Keeps his life. Good help from TK. Pistol to spam. And Alabama Huntsville, hey, you got P5. Okay, that's a costly moment, but you have P5. You have to get back up and set up here, especially if you're trying to get this radio control. You can't just do it from one direction through mid, especially with Classy still here.
Yeah, Classy's going a little rogue here through mid, and he's just making sure reinforcements aren't able to easily get out of spawn. One does slip through right under BMO, and BMO loses that battle, so this actually does ignite an opportunity for Alabama Huntsville, but they have to get through TK. He's been holding on to Patio for what feels like the last minute, and they will find him. So trades back and forth, pushing out through Patio and all the way to the back will be Alabama Huntsville, but now they turn their attention to the zone to see if they can get that first tick of progress.
And Class is waiting for reinforcements to come through, but that's not indeed the case, so Clemson has to fight this battle quickly, and they do. They do give up a first tick of progress, though. Still plenty of time on the clock. Lives becoming a bit of an issue. 17 playing up against 13. The deficit occurring for our attacking team of Alabama Huntsville. But some good positions through Church here. They actually have enough time to sit here and try to maybe finesse a couple of kills to even out this life count before committing to B.
Real's going to push back in. Realizes he's getting no action for the back and needs to find kills. And he finds Classy there from the side. Can he get on the zone? Yes, he can for a second. His teammates starting to get here with him. He's got at least one, but they're going to have to make some kind of a miracle play. The flood is coming in. Reinforcements aren't here just yet. Classy does take out a teammate, and that does maybe still ignite the play for Alabama. As Real's still alive on 4 here, and it's going to be the rest of the teammates getting here for B as that second tick of progress is almost in.
The problem is you've got nobody helping you over by column. 10v5, 13 seconds to clock. Yoinky Zongi has to stay on the zone. They've largely negated most of the incoming defensive nades. Big 1v1 outside of radio. Not going to come through. 5 seconds on the clock. You have to dive through this church alleyway, and BMO is watching it. Such an opening for Alabama to try to work their way through, but they just didn't quite have the help they needed over towards column and patio to keep their players safe in the form of Real, who honestly was doing an incredible job on his lonesome kind of in the back for so long. Got the lives closer to neutral, but positionally just too many openings for Clemson's defense to work with. And now it's 1 round away for Clemson securing a 3-0.
And they had almost forgot about Real there because he had gotten tagged up and was immediately, traded right after. It doesn't end up mattering, as now you have to be perfect. You have to win this defensive round, slowly make this comeback happen. And it's just an initial A hit right off the bat, but J-Man does get involved with 2, looks for the third, and BMO jumps at him with the pistol for the 5 spree. And, well, that should solidify the zone, unless we see something special from Pinecone, but he's not looking for gunfights. He's just kind of sitting there trying to buy time for his teammates, and his teammates can't really get there. So that should be the A zone. That's going to be plenty of time to work with. Try to get over to B here if you're Clemson Esports.
I like this, though, for Alabama. Hard focus through mid-map. Do not allow them a chance to rotate quickly into P5. And they've gotten all the positions you could possibly want. Now it just comes down to winning your gunfights. Possibly easier said than done. BMO, for 1, slips away. An opportunity maybe to finesse onto Pinecone, but largely speaking, the Alabama Charger defense looks good. A little contested mid-map, though. TK will catch 1 on reload. J-Man was softened up pretty badly by a teammate. So you've got Church to work with, but Alabama Huntsville controlling not just column, but they've also got some significant high ground control around B until Real gives it away for literally no reason, and now Clemson are really putting on a threat.
Yeah, multiple angles to watch and a lot of individual gunfights need to be won. BMO there for that first one. Matty P also wins one off screen. He has the sub in hand, so aggression certainly the name of the game. Two more players though try to clear out through this B point. One up top, one down low. BMO takes some more shots, but doesn't really have the confidence to push all the way forward just yet. It's long battle through the back. Finally, TK's there to get assistance for two. Looking for the third. It's Classy that gets the snap. 4 down, and once again a stack can come through.
Bro, this is probably going to be the round right here. Just too convincing, but the fact that Clemson reads what were some very peculiar spawns. Oh, they actually do get bounced off. The fact that I was going to say, the fact that they read the very peculiar spawns for Alabama Huntsville was really incredible in the first place. It was spawns that you would have thought would have been top field of church. They spawned like in the middle of the map, and Clemson still dealt with it. And now we got an 18v12, 60 seconds on the clock, and Alabama has not been allowed to move forward through patio. So this is going to be a really good time. You got Glide Bomb will get a read on where everyone's positioned. Real should be toast, and will be. And with that information, 3 kills come out, 1 more to find, and you got him. J-Man down, 1 more player through mid. Pinecone still spawning like on the zone almost. He will actually contest for a little while longer. There's still an opportunity for Alabama to set up their defense still.
There is still an opportunity.
What are these spawns?
I don't know what these spawns are right now, but they only have 6 lives, so I guess that's the big factor here. If you're Alabama, if you can slow the game down in any capacity, like that could be your chance of setting this one more. J-Man needs to hold on to his life, and he can't do so. Lassie finds the first pickup. Real needs to get 2, and he does! And now his teammates just didn't clear out one more. TK down low, able to hold on to his life, looking for that next battle. He'll find Real again. 3 lives remaining for Alabama. Make it 2. This is looking like it's going to be done and dusted. Clemson Esports, they'll clear out the remaining players, and they will lock in the 3-0, not only in the control, but also the series.
Dude, those are just 2 really impressive hits from Clemson onto the B zone, because I don't think I've ever seen defenders spawn in Church Alley without someone being at, like, because the thing about it for Clemson is no one was playing top church, like top church fields or top church. They were all on patio or by column. So you would have had to feel like the spawn should have either been behind tank in the defensive spawns where they normally are, or towards top church. But they spawned like literally in Church Alley right next to the zone. And the fact that Clemson dealt with it not just once but twice, when everything was starting to stack up in favor of Alabama, is really impressive. So a really solid 3-0 for Clemson. This was a mid-tier 2 team overall. I think they went 5 and 6 in the second stage through tier 2, which is honestly not bad at all for the southeastern region. They get the 3-0 that is, I would say, as far as playoff hopes are concerned, an important 3-0, as you have to go up against Florida Gulf Coast to get yourself into playoffs next. But kind of the same things that we had said about our opening series that we just saw a moment ago. A really impressive top-to-bottom performance from all 4 members from Clemson.
Definitely. I mean, and that's what you need, right? Like, you need that consistently. I mean, it's not always easy to do. You're going to have off games, but when you're able to deliver it and you're in this, kind of cohesive unit as everyone playing off of each other, working off each other's calls, like we saw there through the end of that control, it really does make it come together quite nicely. And it builds that confidence. It builds that chemistry that you need to go up against some of these top teams. And I mean, Clemson Esports, they're showing that they are one of the top teams here through the LCQ with that performance right there. I mean, it was very convincing. The only map that's, very close is like the first one, and that's about a 40-point differential. The rest, I mean, just felt like they were just totally in cruise control, just kind of just doing their thing, taking over Allen, and that's a really good feeling to have going in towards the rest of the LCQ here, trying to qualify for playoffs as we see it one more time here through the map set.
Yeah, again, if you could just stay scrappy in hard points, you're going to be fine.
Definitely.
The biggest thing is if you can come in convincingly with search and control in your favor, oh boy. Because I don't know about you, Austin, but like I feel like at this level, if you have a good objective game mode set, your 2-3-5s are solid, your ability to beat teams is almost unparalleled. Just simply due to the fact that everyone expects you're playing 8s, you're playing hard point scrims in and out. But if you've got a deep playbook through your search and destroy, and you've got really good IGLing in your control, your ability to win series versus teams that are better than you based on overall standings and statistics, I think is definitely there. I will say, as far as this Clemson team going up against Florida Gulf Coast, there's an opportunity there because, I mean, who knows what the Florida Gulf Coast roster is going to look like. I don't know if Kirchy's able to play or not, so
right.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you bring up a really fair point where it's like at this level, I think you can rely on 2-3-5 to an extent, at least to get you to playoffs, right? Like I think that is something you can rely on to get to playoffs. And if they can continue to show us, their depth in Search and Destroy, then I think that they could be a really dangerous team for anyone left here through LCQ or maybe even the early rounds of playoffs if they're able to win that next matchup. So definitely looking forward to see how they're going to be able to perform here for us, Alan. But definitely a fun squad to watch and not scared to take risk, right? Which I think is really one of my favorite factors and really one of the big ones.
I like that. I feel like whenever we talk about teams, we very rarely say this is a fun team to watch. That's a very accurate description. So I like that from you, partner. But with that, unfortunately, we have to say farewell for week number 1 of the LCQ. Postseason is underway. Playoffs still to come, and more immediately, the qualification matches of the LCQ are to come. I saw a couple of tweets out that people were like, oh, dude, the LCQ is going to be so boring to watch. I don't think that's accurate at all. I think we're about to have some banger qualifier matches because largely the teams that are already in round 3 kind of as a bye are tier 1 teams that got smoked all season or tier 2 teams that obviously did very well, but that was only in tier 2. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'll be a really fun time. We'll be back next Monday and Tuesday, same time, same place, 7:30 p.m. start time. So do not miss it. It's CCL postseason season, baby. That was weird to say. It's postseason time. I like postseason season. It's this
postseason season, baby. That's what time it is.
All right, that's what season it is.
That's not what season it is.
Because then it'd be postseason time. That'd be what time it is.
All right, we're getting time. Everything's going all over the place. It's okay, Alan. Just tune in next week. That's what we're getting at, right? 7:30 on Monday. Boom.
That's what we're looking for. Be there. Bang. Out. That's it. Sign off. Done.
Later.